Welcome back to the Beyond Good and Evil playthrough, and we need to repair our ship again. Or rather, we need to get something new for our ship. Good thing we just spent the last part collecting pearls. But what is the next part? Oh, it's the jump kit. Yes, that's right. We need to get jump boosters for our hovercraft.
But not ourselves.
Hey, it's way
Ah.
more realistic that the 12-ton hoverboat would be able to jump while the less than 200-pound woman can't.
The best hydraulics you ever see.
Well, the hovercraft doesn't actually hover. It's just sort of a ship that has propellers and a flotation device strapped to the bottom.
It actually pushes the planet down.
No, the hovercraft has a flotation device on the bottom. It's floating on a big balloon. You see?
So we're
It even
so
has that sort of bouncy look to it whenever the ship moves.
so we're basically riding on one of those bouncy castles.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
basically
a
like
moon bounce.
it's
Yeah.
basically like someone put a propeller ship on top of a pool toy. Like, you could lay down in a pool on this, or you could strap a boat to it.
Genius. That'll be $6 million.
But yeah, we're back to the Vorax lair that I visited earlier to take a picture of the frog and pick up a heart container, except now that we have a partner, they can bust open the thing. We actually could have done this with Paige earlier, but I waited until now because I was doing all the side quest stuff in, like, one go.
And Paige would have used the wire cutters, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they actually have different. I'm assuming that if you have Paige here, then he must have his own unique dialogue for that's really good attention to detail.
Yeah. I think I actually had Paige here the first time I did it, but
Well,
that was a much more meticulous playthrough.
yeah, when you're playing a game the first time, I shouldn't say that, but it makes sense that you'd like try to explore everything as soon as it opens. Whereas when you do stuff the second or third time or whatever, you try to do stuff in a more efficient way. So like
Yeah, trimming the fat.
so
Yeah, it's like you don't necessarily need that extra money or whatever at this point in the game, so you keep it in mind for when it's easier. It's only when stuff like the Tantarian in Final Fantasy IX gives you such a very small window to do it that you have to do it as soon as it opens. Okay. Oh, this is annoying. I want...
Oh, I'm gonna get that jewel. Oh, I'm gonna get that jewel.
who the hell are Carlson and Peters?
They're the authors of this training manual that I think the soldiers in in this particular city basically live and die by. So, like, if you talk to some of the guards around town, they'll mention Carlson and Peters. It's sort of like Double H's catchphrase, though.
Yeah, it's like, is Double H the only one that uses it as a battle cry?
He's the only one who has a chance to have an on-screen battle cry at all, so...
So maybe not. I like to imagine that in a barrage of beloved Harry Potter fans do not shout J.K. Rowling's when they're in the middle of battling Voldemort. So,
Well, I don't know. It could happen.
right.
I don't know.
Right.
Maybe in some future alternate universe fanfiction, the characters in the Dark Tower shout Stephen King's name. Because he's actually a character in his own
What
books.
the fuck?
Wait, he's a character in his own books. Like that's straight up Lemmy
yeah.
Snicket shit.
The story for that is kind of interesting. It's pretty common knowledge that Stephen King got hit by a truck and went through a really bad period and almost died. Well, after that, that happened while he was in the middle of writing the Dark Tower series. Well, he wrote it into the story. And he is actually the author of the story in that story, and part of the whole thing is basically the characters in the story saving him and sacrificing one of their own to make sure
So
that
you
the
can
universe
consider
didn't implode or something. It was weird.
So what you're telling me is the Dark Tower is an autobiography.
No, that would be On Writing. Which is a really good book, by the way. I recommend it to anyone who vaguely enjoys writing.
Stephen King, I read the Dark Tower series. Is it true that you really fought a demon?
Why, yes.
Metaphorically, you could say so.
I fought my inner demons.
Yeah.
The Dark Tower series is a really weird series. I recommend reading it, but just be aware that the last 3 books get a bit inconsistent in quality. Uh, but oh well. Back to the game.
But these Lucas wipes are going to be the end of me.
Well, like I said, I recorded this a long, long time ago. Actually, when I was still using Movie Studio, I've moved on to Adobe Premiere now. And I don't know how to do half these edits in Adobe Premiere yet, but
Moving on up in the world, ladies and gentlemen.
up in the world or just sideways, I can't really tell. But
Well, if you're moving sideways, you're avoiding something. What are you avoiding?
no, it's like what little skill that I had with Movie Studio is irrelevant now because Adobe Premiere works completely different. Like even the basic functions are all in different places and shit.
That's
But
always
we
the most annoying thing in any when learning any video editor is finding out where like the split key is, because that's
Yeah.
like the most important.
Just learning the new interface.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have ourselves another underground headquarters of the Alpha sections, which for some reason our main goal here is to kill another Vorax. I'm not really sure how it got here, but it did, and it has a pearl, so we must kill it.
Why did the
Yeah.
Alpha sections have like 12 headquarters instead of just one? That's why it's called the headquarters, because that's
Well, they
where...
basically rule the planet, and I think their chief headquarters is actually on the moon, but they've got facilities all over the place. But the optional dungeons all have generic names like Alpha Sections Underground, abbreviated Underground Headquarters. Um, woo. This is actually a really easy little optional section because you just need to knock a lot of robots into a lot of electrical barriers. There's 3 at the end here, so you need to go and deal with... You go and trigger the appearance of more robots so that you can knock them into the ones back here. And you do that by pushing this very convenient robot dispenser button.
Why did they put a button there?
You
These
do have
robots are the only convenient way to take down their security barriers. Why have so many of them here?
you do realize that there's some really bored Alpha section guard that in the middle of guard duty just like pressed that button 1,000 times and the entire hallway got filled with robots, and then Frank was not allowed to press the button anymore.
Yeah, Frank, that's coming out of your paycheck. You don't pay me. Oh, fuck.
Anyway, we only chased 1 Vorax down here, but when we get to it, 2 more pop up, and all of them have pearls.
Hooray.
Man, nobody liked Diamond version in this universe, did they?
While the combat system in this game is not even remotely engaging at all, like, it's the most basic hack-and-slash system ever, but Jade's actual combat animations are really good. Assuming you ever use anything but her basic attack, which I usually only ever do by accident, but they look really nice. Like she has this attack where she thwacks the thing behind her with her staff. She has this really complicated flipping maneuver, and she has a backflip that causes her feet to glow that I actually discovered by accident and didn't notice that I had done until I was rewatching this footage.
But she can't jump.
You only have a handful of attacks, though, right? So it makes sense that they would put a lot of effort into the animation for each one.
Yeah, only a handful of attacks, but really, really nice looking ones. Ubisoft's usual combat mechanics problem of almost zero feedback on impact is still very much alive and well in this game. Like that was a problem in Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time as well. Like you had a lot of nice combat animations, and combat was still kind of interesting, but it wasn't as satisfying to hit things.
Oh, is it just like a sound cue kind of thing, or just?
Yeah, you get a generic thwacking sound, and that's about it.
Okay.
The visual feedback on attacking is not all that great, and it sort of made sense in Prince of Persia because your enemies were made of sand. You see how that works? So yeah, but in Beyond Good and Evil, I could have used a little more crunch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it made the combat a little more engaging.
Yeah, it's a very kind of intangible sort of thing, but it's so important to making combat feel satisfying.
Yeah, you want to feel like you're doing something.
Mm-hmm. Ubisoft, unfortunately, has been very slow at getting their combat mechanics to actually be interesting. I think they did some interesting mechanics experiments with Warrior Within and the two thrones, but the actual visual kinesthetic feel of combat never really improved until the Forgotten Sands, actually. Forgotten Sands had really nice, satisfying combat and really nice, satisfying combat effects, and then you realize that the enemies were the most repetitive thing on the planet and lost interest, but still, A+ for effort there, guys.
Is that the 2008 game, or is that
Forgotten Sands was the game that they released in two completely different versions at the time the Prince of Persia movie was happening. And it's a pretty shameless cash-in because the prince looks disturbingly like his movie counterpart in those games. But they're actually really good games, and I recommend playing them. Just know that the combat isn't all that great. It's interesting because instead of dumbing down the HD version for the Wii, they actually made a completely different game with a completely different story and setting. And, arguably it could be called the better of the two, but that's a personal preference thing.
Oh, so it's like Unleashed, but more.
No, it's a lot less phoned in than in Unleashed. In fact, the only phoned in thing about the Wii version of Forgotten Sands that I can think of is the motion controls. They're pointless. I don't like them.
Do you have an option to play with the classic or GameCube controller?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Because this is just one of those earlier Wii games where they really wanted motion control in the game because motion control. I did not mean to go into first person there.
Look at this
That happens
wall.
sometimes.
That's a nice wall.
I think that happens when you click your analog stick. I'm not really sure though. It's just, sometimes, have you ever gotten so tense during gameplay that you accidentally click the analog stick and cause something to happen? Because I do that a lot.
My palms get sweaty.
Well, my hands start to tighten, and then eventually I'll accidentally press down on one of the analog sticks while I'm trying to move it around really fast.
The secret entrance is in the third racetrack of the slaughter.
So we have ourselves another flying mantis thing. The Manta Magnificens. That's totally Latin, I swear. Like, yeah.
How many animals are there in the game?
I don't know, but we've gone through 6 rolls of film with 6, 7, 8 pictures each. So 6 times 8 is 48. We've taken pictures of 48 so far.
Cool.
Also, now that the name Shawnee is on screen, I need to correct myself. Actually, earlier in the game, I didn't notice because I wasn't actually reading the subtitles. But the name Shawnee is mentioned at the very beginning of the game when Jade gets captured by that alien thing. So, yeah, it might actually be her real name.
Bum, bum, bum.
How exactly Jade decided to pick that word out among all the other gibberish words the aliens spouted at her, and yeah, I'm not really sure why she decided
Maybe
to
she's
go with
aware
it,
of her identity.
But yeah, we have ourselves another looter's cavern over here. And yeah, this is the dumbed down version of the sailing element. Just a really, really long distance to travel.
Can that whale hurt you?
I think it's actually behind the borderline that you can't cross, so...
It looked pretty close.
Oh, what does
It's
the
just
game
really
do to?
big.
What does the game do to say, "Oh, you can't sail any farther"?
Lasers.
Lasers. Okay.
Yeah. Which makes sense in the context of the game because, the military have put down these borderlines for public safety.
Well, actually, there was a text prompt that just popped up there before Lewis headed into the Looter's Cavern and said, "You're leaving territorial waters."
Oh, right.
So, I guess that's their way of saying, "Hey, you better turn around."
That's where
Well-
looters live.
I don't really understand why the looters have police sirens on their cars. That never made a whole lot of sense to me.
Because they're the Looter Police.
So can you just not get to this cavern if you don't have the jump booster then?
Oh, yeah, the entire section outside the first set of lasers is something that you need the jump booster to get to. There are
Okay.
several optional caves and stuff out there, but for the most part, you just need to get out there because it's where you need to go.
Okay, so it's so there's no way to get, because I know that you had to use the jump boosters a handful of times in this cavern. It's just there's no way to get to here if you don't have it, so you're not like screwed if you find it by accident then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The thing about the jump boosters is the thing about all the upgrades in this game is that the game gives you a sense that you could possibly sequence break if you got enough pearls early on. but you can't actually get enough pearls early on. The game is designed in such a way that most of the pearl missions unlock as you need them. So you won't have to do everything to get the space engine at the end of the game, but you won't be able to get the space engine at the end of the game until it's the end of the game. And
I'm not
you
sure if
actually
this is a
need it.
result of just the game's inherent programming or the HD remaster,
Ow.
but I kind of don't like how the game pauses every time you pass through a shutter.
Oh yeah, that's a load time because
Yeah, I know what it is, but I'm wondering if that's a result of the HD remaster's poor optimization, or
I doubt
if
it.
the original game did that too.
I doubt it honestly because there's no real actual case of poor optimization in here. Like I can't think of any, and modern consoles don't really have problems with load times when a game is on the hard drive. That's why a lot of games just sort of cop out and force you to install most of their crucial stuff on the hard drive. Because the disk drives are too goddamn slow!
Rabble.
Rabble.
I'm just really bitter about that. Like, I have hard copy of Batman Arkham Knight, but I still need to install, like, all 50 plus gigs on my hard drive.
Yeah, my brother hates it too. My brother has an Xbox One, and he's like, I want to buy a game, but I gotta fucking uninstall something.
Remember
Yeah,
the days when you bought a game and you put it in your console and it worked? That was good.
No, that's not what we're arguing. We're arguing whether or not it takes 50 fucking gigs.
Well, no,
Well, you know-
if you have to install installing 50 gigs doesn't happen instantaneously.
Well,
dude.
I remember the days where you just put in a game on a console and you could just play it right away.
That's what
No,
I was saying. You put a game in your console and it worked.
Here's the thing, okay? Last generation, game installations weren't as ridiculous. On the Xbox 360 side, you had optional full installs of the disc. On the PlayStation 3 side, you only installed crucial data, so maybe 8 of the 50 gigs. You know?
That still took a while, though. Like I
It
remember,
took a while, but it's better than installing the whole thing. Mandatory install, 50 gigabytes. No, I don't like it.
But it's a 32 gig machine.